Guitar Blog, episode 7. This is Tuesday, August 20th at 2:18 p.m. So, today I thought it'd be fun to look at the next step past transcribing a solo. This is something that I don't have much experience doing, but seems to be the suggested way of doing things. So that is, I took the time to learn the first chorus of Miles's solo on Someday My Prince Will Come, the one that goes like that. Now there's more to that solo. It takes like 4 or 5 choruses, and there's probably better stuff in some of the later choruses, but that's as far as I've gotten so far. And just to kind of test this theory, the idea is to take a look at a solo that you transcribed, find a piece of it that you like, and isolate it, and then work on it. And kind of analyze it, understand what's happening, what chords it's played over, and then take it into different keys, and then just drill it a bunch. So I thought I'd do a little bit of that right now, and this is kind of the first time I'm ever doing it, so we'll see how it goes. It makes sense, the theory anyway. So here's the first chorus of Miles's solo. It goes like this. And then I forget this. Something like that. So I was looking at that, and I like this part. Specifically the end. So I isolated that part and looked at what it is. So it's one other thing I like about it, and I thought would be at least a smart choice for my first time doing this, would be is because it's a 2/5. So it's over, in this case, C minor 7 and F7. And then actually it goes to D in the song, but it could easily go back to B flat, which it does at the very end. Yeah. So, looking at that, over the C minor 7, he's playing a D, which is, from what little I understand about the Miles stuff that I know, is pretty common for him. He was always targeting 6s and 9s and extension type stuff, which is cool. It makes him sound like him. So that's a 9, and then we go to the 1, that's a C. Then we hit the G, which is the 5th, and then the 3rd. So he's kind of just walking down the triad, or well, yeah, backwards. So root, 5th, 3rd, just starting with the 9. And then he slides from the 3rd of the C minor to what would be the 6th. So just below the flat 7 there on the F7, which is cool. Gives you this kind of sound. And then that resolves down to the 5th of the F. Alright, so that would be the first step. Well, the first step is transcribe. Second step would be analyze, find a piece that you want to do and analyze what it is that's actually happening. And then learn it all over the place. In my case, what I wanted to do was learn it kind of in the position that I've been working on. I don't want to get too stuck with learning everything or staying in one position when I'm soloing, but for now, it's really helping. spending some time going over the Hank Mobley solo, it's all really in one spot, which is cool. I mean, he's playing the saxophone, but it lays out on the guitar in one spot. So, and I think I heard that Jim Hall spent a lot of time kind of just position playing. He would just do as much as he could do in one spot, whereas somebody like Julian Lage is all over the place, right? He's, able to traverse the guitar much more fluidly. But for now, I'm just happy to kind of play deliberately and stay in one spot. So I'm going to take that lick and bring it down a little bit. Start on this D. Just because it fits in to what I consider to be position 1 for B flat, this major scale position. Ideally you'd learn it everywhere you could, but you don't really have to. I think staying in position is cool because as you change keys, inevitably you will hit those other patterns, as you'll see in a second. So here, now also in this song there's another 2/5, probably several more that I'm noticing, but there's also F minor 7 to B flat 7. So taking that same pattern, 9 1 5 3 6 5, and applying it to the 2/5 starting on F minor. So that would be G. So G is the 9th relative to F. Then F is the root. C is the 5th. A flat is the 3rd. And then we go down to the 6 of B flat, which would be G. And then the 5th of B flat, which would be D. F, which would be F. Alright, so on the guitar, this is one thing that I think is a little head scratchy, literally. When I was getting started with the guitar, because of all the different positions and the fact that you can play the same stuff, the same note in lots of different places, it just feels overwhelming to go, okay, I learned this lick, now let me learn it here and here and here and here and here. And I like to think that this is maybe a better way to do it. By changing keys, it's something that's recommended because you're hearing the lick as more of a concept than a specific, span of notes. It's like you're just hearing it in so many more different ways. It's the same thing, but you're kind of familiarizing yourself with all the different ways that it can sound. And by doing that and staying in position and just going through like the cycle of 4ths or 5ths, you will inevitably hit every option because you're having to figure that out. So in this case, like I could play the original ones starting on the D, way up here, starting with the D up here, and that's exactly the shape that I figured out down here in a different key. So it's under my fingers even though it's in a different key. I'm getting it anyway. That leads really nicely to the E flat, which it does in the song. So it's and then it goes back up to transition back to B flat. So then the next step after this would be to apply it to the chord changes. And there's a nice article I'll link that talks a little bit about this. There really is no right or wrong way to do this, but it suggests, as a starting point, 3 different options, which is play the lick and then improvise after it. So you're using it as kind of a jumping off point. Play the lick in between some improvisation, so you're improvising and you're having to think a little bit, be more deliberate about getting to the point, to the starting point of the lick that you're playing, and then going out of it into something else, and then playing the lick last, which is similar to the middle step where you're improvising and then having to target a specific spot to play a lick to finish out a phrase. I'm not going to break it down that atomically. I'm just going to throw on a play along, and every time I see the 2/5 from C to F, I'm going to play that lick, and every time I see the F to B flat, I'm going to play that lick in that key. And I'm just going to start with that for now. And then everywhere else, I'm going to improvise. And I'm going to try to keep that kind of sparse because just I don't want to miss one of my chances to play the lick. That's the goal, is to play it and not to worry too much about the improvised bits. So let me see if I can do that. Built-in output. All right, let's see. Does this play? Yeah. All right, so this is just iReal Pro at 120 playing the changes. So I'll just take a few choruses and try to just, forcibly throw that lick in as much as I can. There are a lot of C to F changes, and there's only one F to B flat change, but we'll do what we can. And then everywhere else, I'll just try to improvise like I normally would, outlining the changes, or at least not playing something bad sounding. Yeah, something like that. So, it gets irritating after a while, but that's a good thing. It's kind of like I always like to think about when I'm practicing music or anything really. If I'm feeling bored, that's usually a good sign. It means that I'm probably mastering whatever it is I'm working on, and I'm getting to the point where it's no longer exciting and stimulating for me. So rather than that being discouraging, I try to get excited about it and go, okay, I must be making some progress. I'm kind of like, if somebody were to ask you a quiz of like, what's 2 + 2? What's 1 + 1? You'd be like, all right, like this isn't really interesting to me because this math is so basic, I can just do it. But that's good because it means, hey, you know this math really, really well. So imagine if you could get to that level with other things. So I try to look out for that. But so it's very repetitive, and that's also good because it's just getting under your fingers and in your head over and over and over again. Now I was saying trying to string together things more smoothly, which it doesn't really work in this case because I'm strictly playing this lick, which leads me down here, and then the next lick for the F to B flat starts way up here. But maybe I could do something like do an octave displacement or something like that. So I'm already forgetting it. Same lick, just taking the last few notes and moving them up an octave. And then that's at least closer. You know, maybe something like that. But so that's, you know, it kind of creates these fun games, these interesting situations that you have to kind of strategize or your way out of. I want to play this lick. It doesn't land in a place that allows me to string it to the next lick. So what can I do to modify either the first one or the second one to make them fit together? Or maybe there's some way to join them interestingly. And yeah, so you're kind of creating little games for yourself. And then that's, at least for me, very interesting because it's creative. But you're also working within restraints. So I'm trying to be creative, but I've got some specific goals in mind as to how I'm going to do that. So what I intend to do is more of that. That's only 2 keys, and it's very minimal on the F to B flat. So the next step would be to really drill it in all the keys. Take the time to figure out the lick. And again, I'm just experimenting with staying in one spot. I think I'll hit on every possible fingering. If I stay in one spot as I change keys, I'll hit them all. And then it'd be cool to maybe create a play-along track that just cycles the 2/5 in waltz time. Or maybe even better would be to just take iReal Pro and have it change keys every iteration, and then really work on those. And then the hope, we'll see, they tell me, is after all this repetition and taking things into different keys, you'll have, you know, so fully internalized this lick and practiced it in so many different ways that when a 2/5 comes up, and you can run this lick at will. You know, it just kind of comes to you like anything you would say, like speaking your native tongue. So anyway, that's it for this week, Guitar Blog. Thank you for watching. Hope you can get something out of that. I'm experimenting, and we'll see where it goes. Anyway, have a good week. See you next time.